live. Yeah, we going live. Hey, we going live. Yeah, we going live. Yeah, we going. Yeah, we going. Yeah, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line. Hey.
Hello, beautiful people.
Hello.
I am Jarrett, the football genius Burgess.
And I am Stephanie Fitzpatrick, aka the Advantage Coach.
And this is episode 140 of the Field to the Real podcast. Trucking right along. I think, you know what? I want to say this at the beginning of this podcast, because I think when we first started, right? When we first started, I wasn't necessarily, what's the word? I was grateful. I was grateful for everybody who listened.
Right.
But I was looking at the numbers and I was like, man, I wish we had so much more and this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
And so I think that in that there's a little bit of like entitlement, and you know what I'm saying? Because nobody has to listen to this podcast.
Right. Correct.
And you know, after a few months, our numbers have kind of gone down a little bit. And that's natural when you first like debut a show, like, you know, you get
everybody want to know, yeah.
Right. People want to know what it is, what's going on with it, and then the numbers are dwindled down. And so as the numbers, at least our audio streaming numbers have started to go back up, I've become way more thankful of the people who have decided, like, I'm going to listen to this podcast on a weekly basis. Yeah, and so I know I say it at the end of every show, but I truly want to thank you guys for tuning in. You know what I'm saying, and listening to our podcast. Our podcast is so much bigger than just what's going on in sports.
Oh, for sure.
we are focused on the impact that sports have on people's lives. Absolutely. And so thank you guys so much. We truly appreciate you guys. I know I say that all the time, but I hope that you understand the sincerity in us saying, like, we truly appreciate you guys taking the time out and spending an hour with us once a week.
Yeah, it's humbling.
Yeah,
it's humbling because when we started it, you got to think, when we started this, we had and we still do have that same mission, right? It wasn't to be popular with people all over the internet and you know, reach that we could have with this. That wasn't our point. Our point was, because of the project, we wanted to be able to get on these campuses and bring this forth so that people could hear and learn and hear some things, some positivity, right? That was our goal, to have these kids at these colleges hear something that might touch them, or these high schoolers might hear something that touches them. That was the point in the beginning. And so it's humbling that there are people who just want to hear what we have to say. Right,
yeah. And I love, you know what I'm saying, when people shoot me text messages or they respond on social media somewhere, or they will, you know, respond on YouTube just about like what they liked about the show, or even something that, you know, they thought we could do better. Like, I truly appreciate that.
Yeah, I got to do better. I don't look at any of that because that's just my stance on things. It's just, you know, like, and whether it was positive or negative, that's not the issue. It's just, I don't ever look at that because I know you can get caught up, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and so, but I got to do better, because if people are saying things like what you just said, just kind of caught me, like what we could do better. That's important to watch or hear. And honestly, people's feedback is important, or them interacting with us is important. I want it. I just think it's kind of like what we talked about before we started. When you know you got somebody else that'll do it, you just don't. Yeah. So I don't, because I know you will. And I need to do better. And for myself to see.
Well, you know, it took me a while to just post one thing.
You've been doing so good. Shout out to Jarrett, y'all. He's been on it. He's been on it. I'll be looking for it too. I've about 8 o'clock, I'll be like, let's see.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, it'll
uh-huh.
be something. I'll be like, okay, post it.
Thank you for the accountability.
Sure.
Yeah, because I certainly needed that.
No problem. So yeah, thank you for stopping to say that to our feel good family.
Feel good family.
Yes.
Well, let's jump into this Who's Really Right though, because this is one when we were meeting, we almost got into an argument about.
It ain't been one of these in a minute.
Right. This is what we are truly on opposite sides of it.
Oh, for sure.
And it's funny, given the nature of it, one would think that you would be on the side that I'm on, and I would be on the side that you're on.
Yeah, because you're right. You're right. Yes. Yeah.
But without further ado, this week's Who's Really Right is Draymond Green tweeted about the fact that they had to fly in the same day that they played because there was an issue in the plans and it caused a delay. And so people were giving him grief in the comment section. And so our Who's Really Right is Draymond being a baby or does he have a legitimate right to be upset?
Yeah.
Now, Steph, you gave me this context. Give them a little bit of context to why your position is the way that it is.
Absolutely. So the CBA, collective bargaining agreement for the NBA, states that they are not to travel on the day that they play. They are supposed to get in town at least a day, 24 hours before, or at least a day before, in order to have time for meetings and practice and all of the things that they do. And that's for player safety. That's for it's a bunch of reasons why they chose to do it and make that policy. So my stance on this is he's not being a baby. He's saying, I get out here and I put my physical health on the line to play a sport, to entertain other people, right? I mean, it's a grueling schedule for basketball because they play a lot of games.
82.
80. So I feel like he had the right to say, well, this was not cool. And it wasn't like, if you read his tweet, I wish I had pulled it up. He wasn't like whining in the sense of saying, man, he just said, man, we had to fly in and we had to play on the same day. It was almost like he was just kind of thinking out loud, right? I don't think he was meaning it to be whiny, but he had the right to whine if he wanted to, because there's a policy in place that states that they don't have to play, that they should not be playing on the same day that they travel. I don't think that makes him a baby or a whiner. I do not. I think he was just stating the fact that they had to fly in on the same day that they played. And I don't feel like he was wrong in making the statement and pointing out the obvious. I don't.
So the tweet was, fly in the day of the game after playing a game the night before and play a game. Wow.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you why Draymond Green is being a baby.
Okay.
Now, this was a mistake, right?
Well, it was the plane was the issue. The plane was the issue. That's why they didn't fly out.
Yeah, so the plane was the issue. Now, this isn't something that has happened or happens frequently, right? As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever heard of a story where this has happened. And if it has, it's because nobody complains about it, because it's not something that happens often.
Correct.
Now, the frame that I'm looking from this, or the lens that I'm looking from this at, is the fact that the WNBA players have frequently had to fly on the same day that they played the games, right?
Okay.
Now, We can talk about the fact that this is what they've collectively bargained.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate part about the WNBA is they don't have the same amount of leverage that the NBA has. And so some of the stuff that gets collectively bargained for the WNBA isn't things within their control.
Right.
So that's the lens I'm looking at this from. Draymond Green, this is probably the only game this year that would happen. The expectation can't be, well, let's move the schedule around so that you don't have to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this is something that you just have to adapt to because it's a one-time thing. Now, totally understand that if the NBA continues and that if this happens like frequently, totally understand you coming out and saying, listen, we ain't standing for this. This is just collectively bargaining.
Right.
But this happening one time and you complaining about it, sir, stop being a baby.
Did he complain though?
Yeah.
That was a complaint to you?
It was a passive-aggressive, sarcastic complaint. Wow.
It was passive. I will agree it was passive-aggressive and it was sarcastic, but I still don't look at it like he was like, okay, so here, let me back up and say this. We all know Draymond Green. He don't have no problem with speaking his mind to anybody about anything.
Right.
So I feel like he is not, if it were really an issue, it would have been more than the word wow.
Yeah.
I think it was just literally him stating what was happening and just, it was almost like how you were thinking in your head. Like somebody might have thought, somebody else on that plane from the Warriors that had to fly in on the same day probably was having the same thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow. We got to play a game. Like, wow, we got to play a game. And we just, blah, blah, blah.
They didn't tweet it.
But I'm saying, I feel like that was just what his mind was thinking. I don't think it was a complaint. I don't know. Even if it was, he got the right. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, so no. He certainly does have the right, right? He has the right to voice that. And I'm not saying that he doesn't, but I have the right to look at you and say that you're acting like a baby for tweeting it. Because the thing is, like, I could think that. I used to think to myself, like, and I guess now just me verbalizing it makes it a complaint. And we'll actually dig into this a little later. But I used to think to myself, playing at a historically Black college or university, we are on this bus traveling to Florida. Why are we not flying? Right. And so we didn't have social media the way that we have it now back then. I think we only had Facebook, and that was like my junior year.
Yeah.
So it's not that I could have just gone to, social media to voice my concerns about this.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, it's not the fact that you're upset about it or you feel like this is some type of injustice. Like when you verbalize it and complain about it, right? Even if it's collectively bargained, I feel like what you've unknowingly done is a slap in the face to the WNBA players who have to deal with this all the time. Unintentionally, unknowingly.
That's the part. It's not intentional. It's not like he feels entitled to be above them. That's not what this is.
No. That's what I say. It's unintentional.
And so the tweets, the people who were responding to him, I went and looked at some of the responses.
Oh, and I was gonna pull those up too.
And so some of the things were just regular, ordinary people saying, "Oh, poor Draymond, you get paid all this money," and that was where I think I took I bristled for him with some of those comments because that's not fair.
So some of these are a little bit ridiculous, but this one is hilarious. This dude responds. And looking at the profile picture, this is a white man.
Oh God.
Wow. I gotta go to work today too for far less money. Pound sand, Draymond. P.S. You will be exposed in the playoffs as the average player you are.
See. Yeah.
That was more of a troll than an actual, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you
He
really
added
just
a little
wanted
sauce.
to say that last part. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just, yeah.
Now the one after that, and I won't even repeat this one because I feel like, you know what I'm saying? This one was a little bit far. You know what I'm saying? Like, so some of those comments, like, yeah, nah, we not doing that.
And he responded to some of those people too.
Oh yeah.
He took the time to respond to some of them.
He had time today. Your problems are your
right.
problems. My problems are the one thing they have in common. They are problems. It's all relative, my man. And I love that response too.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Relative.
Like, don't put that was my whole point. Like, don't put, I'm sorry that you got that this is the hand you were dealt, and you don't you don't have this gift or talent that I have that allows me to make this money. I'm not, you got one, you just might not be using it because you could be doing, anyway, I won't go there. But I'm saying, like, he didn't get dirty, nasty with anybody in his responses, but I feel like they just ran with it, like ran with something that he said just randomly, just I think mind jumping, and I don't think he was whining.
Yeah. So I didn't finish his response. The last sentence of his response was, however, maybe I can help you out for Christmas.
See? Now,
look, so to go back to the beginning, I'm looking at this from the lens of WNBA players.
I understand.
And we've talked.
The equality is not there.
Right.
The equity is not there. The equity
is not there.
The equity is not there. We know that.
And so in looking at it from that lens, and you look at, you know, and I get it, problems are problems, right? But like to go on a public platform and complain about it is the thing, right?
And maybe this would be a jump off point though, to have those conversations. Maybe somebody from the WNBA should have responded, right? And be like, now, Draymond, boo-boo, we need you to do, like, you feel this way, imagine how we feel. And that could have been a whole jump off point to start a conversation to figure out how they make that different for them. You know what I mean? Like,
we dug into a little bit of the responses from some of the WNBA players, and it would take the right WNBA player to respond to this correctly, because some of their responses are a little, a little disrespectful, over the top. They look like some of the responses from some of these people under
regular
Draymond Green's tweets.
Yeah.
No, but you know, like I said, I'm looking at it from that lens, and so from that lens, like, all right, you are being a baby. But I do agree, like, it's all relative. Like, don't minimize my problems because you're like, I'm a millionaire.
Right.
You know?
Just because I got money doesn't make problems go away. Like, they don't, right.
Right, because the next person could look at you and say, I'm homeless. Like, what you complaining about? You got somebody to lay your head.
Right.
So it's all relative.
It is.
I agree with that part, but he being a baby.
Oh. Well, y'all let us know what you think. Who's really right?
Who's really right?
Like he said, we was like, no, but that was us on the, so definitely on different sides of this one, because I'm definitely, he's not being a baby. He has an expectation. I guess as a coach, this is where my head is. He has an expectation of what his employer is going to do because they said this is what they were going to do.
Right.
And when that doesn't happen, he just, again, I feel like just spoke what was in his head. Like, wow. Like, you know, it wasn't a complaint. He ain't being a baby, in my opinion. That's my opinion on it. And of course, Jarrett's on the other side of this.
I am on the other side of that. And I don't necessarily have a problem with him feeling the way he feels about it. But once you go to social media with your gripe, then I think that's what makes it like you're being a baby.
Okay.
Y'all let us know who's really right.
Yeah.
Now put the cameras on me, 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 put the cameras on me.